This episode is styled by Advantage Property Styling, Brisbane. Live from our studios, here's Property TV.
Welcome to this month's Property TV. I'm Ian Thomason from Thomason Property, and with me this month I have Michael Matuzik. Michael is one of Australia's leading property analysts, and we're going to be talking to him shortly about what's going on in the current climate. But before that, I'd like to take you to Kevin Turner for this month's property update. Thanks, Kevin.
This market update brought to you by realestatetalk.com.au. Thank you. Well, the Brisbane market is certainly tightening up and we're seeing a lot of competition to get the attention of buyers. So here are some thoughts for you. Make sure that your property stands out from the crowd, present it well, and above all, be realistic about your asking price. If you do those things, you'll be fine. Right now, buyers have a lot of choice, and as such, they're not rushing in to buy. And consequently, we're seeing days on market, that is the amount of time it takes to sell a property, expanding right out. In some areas, it's taking as much as 90 or 120 days. There's also evidence that buyers are negotiating hard, offering as much as 10 or 20% below the current asking price. But here are some thoughts for you. Buyers know value, so if you're realistic about your asking price, you'll be fine. Also, make sure you present your property in a first-class fashion, and above all, listen to the feedback coming from the marketplace through your agent. Do those things and you'll be fine. I'll see you next time.
Thanks once again for that, Kevin. As I mentioned to you, this month we're interviewing Michael Matuzik. Michael, as I said, is one of the leading property analysts in Australia, and I've got some interesting questions to ask Michael just about how he does what he does. So Michael, thanks for joining me today.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Michael, there's, with all the economic probably turmoil we've been through in the last short period of time, there's a lot of forecasting being done about the property market, and I'm seeing quite a variety in what's being predicted. My experience of listening to you and seeing what you do is that you're probably more accurate than most, and I'd like to know, why is it that you seem to be doing things and coming up with different or probably more accurate forecasts than others? What is it that you do that gives you that credibility?
Well, thanks for saying that I am more accurate than others. I'd like to think we are. Basically, we take a wider view. And really one of the things that drives a market in a cycle is confidence. And it's lack of confidence when things are bad, and when things are good, confidence gets ramped up. And that understands the human condition and why people may buy or may not, and so forth. And once you step back a little bit from the figures, you know, what prices have done, what rents have done, what sales have done, and take a little bit step back and say, maybe even yourself, what would I do in this situation? For argument's sake, at the moment, a lot of people aren't doing anything. And that makes some sense to me. And when you start to say to yourself, I think that's a good buy, or I think things are undervalued, you're not alone. So what we do is put a filter through things, but a little bit step back, and from more of a human condition rather than just the numbers.
Okay. Michael, a lot of the major developers come to you for your market analysis prior to getting involved in and committing to developments, whether it's where they're going or what type of product they're going to build. What sort of advice do they ask for you, and how do you handle it?
Okay, not as many developers come to us as we'd like, but many do, and a lot of them are repeat, which is nice. Again, we look at, I'm a town planner, and some of my staff are town planners as well, and I think that's a good base. We don't practice planning per se in terms of the approval, but we come from what should be on a location and why. And so you're building from the ground up. It's like Lego, so much in many ways. And so the base has to be right. So if you're talking about apartment project, it's like what type of apartment should be there, what sizes should be, who are likely to buy them, or more importantly, use them. And when it comes to house and land packages or the like, you know, we do the basic things, like in Queensland particularly, having a north-south running block is a lot better than having an east-west one, simply for solar orientation. And we start designing things that way, and having double garage, which, you know, we could argue you don't need to, but people like have 2 cars and like a double garage, and so if that can be facilitated, that's better than not.
Michael, the other thing that I find interesting is that from time to time you make predictions about what suburbs are going to be the next ones to boom. I sort of look at that and think, well, how do you do that and know that you're going to be reasonably accurate, which you are, in those sorts of predictions?
Yes, well, it's something we've dropped off a little bit over recent years because it's getting harder to do. Usually it's infrastructure. In strong markets, it can be the soft stuff, a beach, a view, a current trend or a current fad, whether or not that's surfing or whatever it is. But usually it's infrastructure, and we track pretty closely what infrastructure is happening. And for argument's sake, what's likely to happen in some of the regional towns in Queensland is that they're going to get a boost because of coal and gas and so forth. That might be somewhat obvious. But then in the capital city, it's not maybe the most blatant things, Cross River Rail, but it could be an improvement just in circulation because of this roadwork, or a new set of shops coming, or something like that happening. So we look at those things and say, lifestyle, access to those type of facilities, somehow community being set up that may not have been as strong before, influences desirability, which again is a human trait, which then influences price and sales. So again, it's somewhat simple to say, it's a basic look, but it's often what drives a market forward is the things that support it. Some of it ain't sexy, it's water and sewerage and so forth under the ground, but it's infrastructure usually.
Okay. Michael, one of the things that I guess the property industry and investors have looked at over the years has been the 7-year property cycle. With everything that I guess the globe has been through in the last few years, is the 7-year property cycle something which we can still basically use as a philosophy of predicting where we are in the market?
I think Mark Twain said it best when he said, history doesn't repeat, but it rhymes a lot. And I think that's true of a cycle. Whether or not it's 7 years, whether or not it's displayed as a clock is somewhat questionable. And as the world becomes more uncertain, which no doubt events in Japan of recent days has indicated that that is the case. But the market still does cycle. And so we can, I think, with some confidence understand that one property goes up in value over the long term and is done since records have been kept, but it cycles around that upward trend. And I think that will repeat, whether or not it's 7 years, 10 years, whether or not the next couple of years will be as strong as the past couple. I think they're things that are a toss at the moment.
So,
but
Michael,
it does repeat.
That leads me to the big question. Whereabouts on the property clock do you think we are at the moment?
Okay, all things being equal, and you've got to put that caveat on it, I do think that most markets are actually around the trough. Whether or not, if we use a clock, whether or not it's 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock or maybe into 7, but many markets are at a position where they're poised for some improvement. I think we've reached the bottom of the market. I'm one who advocates we're unlikely to see a property crash in Australia. There's many reasons why. One of it's just simply the banking industry, and we have good equity and so forth. But I think that the movement upwards in the future may not be as strong as the movement we saw during the 2000 period. So I think it's going to be
so we're in the sort of the right spot to look forward with a bit of encouragement, you think?
Oh, I think it's a great time to buy now if you buy very well, and that's the key to buying. As you know, we've known each other a long time. As you know, that if you buy well and hold them long term, well, you do quite well.
Okay. Right. So, Michael, thanks very much for that.
Thank you.
It's always good to talk to you, and if you're willing, I'd like to invite you back in a few months' time to give us some more market comment.
No, only joking. I'll be back. I enjoyed it.
That's great. Okay. So with that, we'd like to take you to this month's feature property.
I must be sold, and I'm down in the mouth. My owner is leaving, she's off to the south. So I need a new lover, someone who will take care, someone who will caress me, someone who'll be there. I'm ready for inspection and I won't let you down. I won't cost you a lot, and I'm so close to town. So please ring my agent. He's really quite a bloke. He will talk to you gently. He's quite softly spoke. He'll steer you to finance. He will help you buy. You will find it quite easy, so don't let time pass by.
Well, there you have another great feature property. I'm sure that you'll agree with me that it's ideally suited for a first home buyer or alternatively an investor. And if you'd like more information on that, don't hesitate to contact me at the number that's showing now on your screen. And that's it for this month. I'd like to say that we'll be back next month where we'll be interviewing another really interesting person. So until then, have a great month.